love you so much, and we're so grateful to come into your presence, Father. We thank you for tonight. We thank you for the school district and what it means to each one of us. We thank you for the teachers and the administrators. We thank you for the people that pour their lives into this, Father. I pray that you give us wisdom, that you give us understanding, that you give us peace and love and grace, and we show that to others, Father. Again, we thank you for everything. We thank you for your Son, Jesus, who died so that we can call you Father. I pray these things in his name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. There's our 7th. Guess you got the six. Oh, yes, Steve's going. Guess you got us? You can count right down. All right, so we're going to start with recognizing some special individuals.
Yes, sir. Coach Arthur?
Yes, sir.
Come on up here for just a second. This is Coach Cord Arthur. He is the coach of the state champion powerlifting team. So, Coach, if you would, first of all, how long have you been the coach of the powerlifting team?
This is my first year.
Well, you don't. That's all you got to do every year.
Step in and win. That's the goal.
That's it. So we've had a powerlifting team a couple of years.
Yes, sir. I think this is 3.
And the first year was kind of picked up
Yeah,
right at
the
the
COVID
end.
year. Well, it was a COVID year too, and it made everything pretty tough.
Yeah. So Coach Arthur, we're glad to have him. He's got a lot of excitement in the program, and so I'm going to let him introduce these guys and tell you a little bit about them. So.
All right. So we were. I guess I'll just introduce everybody else. I told them to bring all their hardware, so it may sound a little loud as it comes over. We had 7 kids qualify for the state powerlifting meet this year. See coming up, Val Wylie qualified in the 220-pound weight class. Jackson Lunsford's 275-pound weight class. Caden Clay's 275-pound weight class. Landry Carlton was the 148-pound weight class, and Xavier Collins was the 308-pound weight class. That was kind of sad.
And you had a couple more that aren't here.
Yes, sir. Marcus Rose in the 114-pound weight class, and then Joel Scott in the 181-pound weight class. It's really, really, really hard to do. Powerlifting is an interesting sport. They say it's the fastest growing sport in Texas sports right now, Texas high school sports. So it's really cool to have as many kids as we did from Abilene, Wylie, just show up and then show up and show off. It was pretty impressive. I think Xavier set all four state records at the state powerlifting meet this year: the bench squat and deadlift and total record. I don't know how many regional records we set as a group. It was super exciting, and it's like I said, it's fun to win. And so it's glad we did it.
George, you might mention like the state champion, state championship records.
Okay. Oh man, you make me remember.
They can help you, Coach.
So you did. So what was your squat record? It's pretty dumb. You squat 800 pounds. Yes. Xavier squat 800 pounds. You bench pressed 585, and you deadlifted, and your total was 2,100 pounds. That's pretty incredible. Scott's not here, and he also set the squat record. I think he squatted 181 pounds. Pretty incredible. 181 pounds. He squatted 730. I think, and then he totaled 1775 or 1750, somewhere around there, which also the state record. So pretty incredible dudes. Yeah, they're all with the crazy numbers. But I don't know. Maybe the craziest one was Marcus Rose. He's not here. At 114 pounds, he deadlifted 405 pounds. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
Okay, I'll squeeze together.
Thank you very much.
Again, congratulations, Coach. I will say, hey, Will, I know you're proud of your son, but you better quit wrestling him after school. It's not.
I'm ready for him whenever he's ready.
I bet on him. Thank y'all for coming out tonight. We appreciate it. Congratulations. Y'all don't have to stay, but you're welcome to if you want to.
All right, so now it's time for public comment, open forum as a board. We won't respond to your comments. We will listen. We have a 3-minute limit, so if you come up and within 3 minutes, make your comments. Jason, you're first.
Yes, sir.
All right, good evening, team. It is indisputable that Miss Lessing is an incredible Wylie team member who has accomplished notable and never seen accomplishments during her tenure as the Wylie band director. I, for one, feel blessed to have such a strong woman in my kids' lives, leading them with zeal, innovation, discipline, excellence, integrity, and the spirit we all pray exists when we send our kids to school. She will be missed, and I hope that you know what you're doing. Apparently, we have a problem in our band program that I was unaware of until recently. All the while, my son and daughter now serve in the community, learning the love and mastery of music under the incredible leadership of Michelle Lessing and David McKnight. I appreciate your attention and trying to fix it. But I have to ask, did this board know and agree that the band had a problem? Which of you knew this problem before the band director was removed? What did you do to fix the problem before people's lives were changed? Do you believe the current course of action is a solution? I hope so. I pray you ask some critical questions before setting your next team up for the same fate as the last. I'm not here to ask for Miss Lessing's job back, although I believe that to be the right thing, given the information that's been shared to me up to this point. After discussing the matter with Mr. Light and Mr. Smith, I'm here to share my perspective to hopefully avoid a situation like this in the future. Here are some questions I would like to ask if I were in your shoes. Along with the standard, is the vision of the program clear and shared among all members of the team? Does the new person you've hired understand and share the vision that the number of students in the program is more important than the quality of music in the program and the service it provides to the community? Was the previous leadership aware of the goals and visions? How do you know? What was done by the administration to promote mission accomplishment? At one point, Mr. Smith said it was not his responsibility to find out why band kids were leading band. And to that point, I disagree on many levels. While leaders at every level have the responsibility to be held accountable for, if you're not asking for the root causes to the problems, you simply cannot hope to fix it. You're simply pointing fingers. Who is imposing these goals and visions, and at whose behest? It certainly wasn't mine. So which one of you represented me in the meetings to discuss how we measure success in the band program? Is that me? Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Cheryl Saunders.
Good evening. My name is Cheryl Sawyers, and I'm a band parent here. You've heard from me earlier. I sent you an email. I outlined it. It was probably 5 pages long of all the band accomplishments and everything that my kids have been a part of over the last 4 years for Logan, and then another year whenever he was in middle school, as well as the stuff that my daughter Lori is. I have 2 more kids who are coming up who are looking forward to some band experiences of their own. And what I want to propose to you tonight is what comes next. Because as it stands right now, you heard Jason speaking, band parents didn't know there was a band issue. Band parents didn't know that there was a numbers issue. We thought that they were doing very well. They've had sweepstakes after sweepstakes, year after year of success whenever it comes to musicality and technicality. They are the best kids when they go out of town. We get comments constantly about how great they are. And so if Miss Lessing wasn't the answer, if her personality or whatever got in the way for, you know, she wasn't a kid magnet, they didn't bring in kids to the band, I propose to you that a big band does not always equal a good band. There will be kids in those classes that we're just bringing them in so somebody can keep their job instead of being able to teach them. If I have to stop every 5 seconds and deal with the child that I have to keep in my band because I might lose my job if I lose any numbers, then my other kids lose out. I'm concerned that we'll be back here in 3 or 4 years, and I think a failure has occurred. There are over 500 kids in this district who are a part of band, and our trust has been broken. We didn't know there was an issue. Our kids are the ones who are serving this community. They're the ones who are constantly at every single thing. Whenever they say, let's get together and do something, band is one of the first things that gets thrown out there. Let's have the band. So the band's at all the football games, the band's at the pep rallies, the band even got things thrown at them at the pep rallies, and they happily play for everybody. And so it's really hard whenever they're the ones doing the jazz for the elderly. They're walking through the halls playing for teens, and they're just being told, hey, your work's not good enough. You weren't big enough. And so the person you've entrusted with your time and your energy and everything is being taken away from you because of the fact that we didn't really like the personality that came along with that person. It's really hard to understand. You have the choice to put band families on the agenda tonight and actually have a conversation, and that did not happen. So now we're standing here with our 3 minutes relegated to not able to have a full conversation, and I appreciate the time that I've been given, but it's simply inadequate, much like Ms. Lessing has been treated.
Rebecca Perkins.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Perkins. I have 3 kids that are in the band program. I just have a couple of questions for y'all. First off, in the 6 years that my children have been in the band, I just want to ask you, do you know how many times any other organization actually came to a band competition to support our band? 1. In 6 years. What's the problem with that? That's not Miss Lessing. That's not a band director. That's a cultural issue. That's an administrative issue. Sorry, but it is. 2, show of hands. Who, in reference to the band, actually knows what the battery is? I mean, really, anybody? Band? That's your drum line. They're the charge, they're the heart of it. And the fact that y'all don't know what that is really, really sad. That breaks my heart. Sorry, I'm trying really hard not to cry. The band recently, all of the bands across junior high up through high school just recently got sweepstakes. All ones. Do you know how hard that is to do? Every single band in your district to get to sweepstakes all the way across, it's very, very hard. That was under the leadership of Ms. Lessing, Mr. McNutt, Ms. Ray, Mr. Brennan, and Mrs. Leeds. I don't see anybody acknowledging that with our band. Not one. I haven't. I mean, they're not being recognized enough for that. That is amazing what the powerlifters did. That's great. That's wonderful. Our parents were some of the first ones to clap for them. That's great. But my question is, there's no support from anyone outside of the band program. And that's heartbreaking. Because these kids pour their hours and hours and hours of time and practice. Parents, hours and hours of time. I challenge each and every one of you to follow one band parent, one band director, one student, one band booster board member. I would probably recommend president treasurer or a concession. You know, the concession stand that people constantly complain about the line? Well, please come, volunteer to help, don't complain, come and help. But we don't get that. Instead, we are met with resistance and told that we are not good enough, and you get rid of our leader. So my charge to you is with this next person that's coming in, please let them know what the expectation is. Because like Cheryl said, this is going to happen again. It doesn't matter who is in this position, how many people you put in it, until you fix that issue at the top, it's not going to get better. And I appreciate all of the time that y'all have given me, and I've had some great conversations with people, and they've been very generous, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Angie Herbie.
Hi, my name is Angie Herbie. I'm the Band Booster President, and I've had kids in band for the last 7 years. I'm here today to speak on behalf of the band program and my concerns about what is taking place. As you know, Michelle Lessing is being reassigned. I have met with several administrators, and the reason I was told was because the numbers aren't large enough. The numbers given to me were not the accurate number of kids in the program during marching season. The numbers are different for marching season as opposed to the second semester, but it's for marching season they want a larger band. We are the largest band in Abilene, and we were the largest 5A band at our UIO competition. The percentage of kids in band at Wylie is 14%, which is almost double the percentage of Cooper and Abilene High. Lubbock Cooper, which is also a 5A school, has 10% of their kids in band. The point of telling you this is because to say that this is about numbers does not make any sense. When I met with administration, I was told Michelle did nothing wrong and is in fact a good director and a good employee. She's not been on a growth plan, and to my understanding has only had good evaluations. The administrator that has completed her evaluation in the last several years was not consulted in the decision to reassign her. The band has grown to 65 more kids than last year, but I was told that junior high numbers do not count. Unlike any other activity, band is something that starts in the junior high and feeds into the high school. Junior high numbers have to count. There are 70 eighth graders right now, and if even 40 of them stay, the high school numbers would increase. When looking at the growth of the band program, all grades count, and our program is growing, not declining. As you can probably understand, I'm concerned about the future of our band program. The focus seems to be on the size with little regard to our achievements and little regard to the staff that are leading it. I was asked at the end of my meetings to please trust that the administration is doing what they feel is best for the band program. I cannot trust that this is the best decision for the band, and right now the band program is in turmoil. It is a big deal to change any type of leadership in a program that kids are involved in for 7 years, and the reasons for this change do not make any sense. They are not based off correct numbers. It did not take COVID into account for 2 years, and Michelle's being reassigned while having done nothing wrong, direct words of the administration. I'm concerned that we will find ourselves back in this spot in another 4 years if something doesn't change with the mindset of those in charge of these decisions. Thank you for your time.
Robin Sturman.
My name is Robin Sturman. I'm here to speak on behalf of Ms. Lessing and the reassignment of Ms. Lessing. My children have been part of the Wylie Band program since 2015. I've had one that has made his way all the way out and another one that has another year. I believe that removing Ms. Lessing as the band director is and will be a mistake for many reasons. One, Ms. Lessing loves her band kids, and she's taught the students to love band as much as she does. And that was proved tonight, that those students that showed up and played, that was all student-led and organized. The students got together and said, we love Ms. Lessing, we love band, we need to show them this. They organized that tonight. She has to fight every day for her band kids. Sadly, she's constantly met with resistance with that fight. Last year, when school resumed with COVID restrictions, she was looking out for the best interests of her band kids and the help. And much like all the other bands in the area, were not going to away games. She got fought on that and said, your children's health are not our concern, put them on the bus. They're going to the football games. She always wants the best for her children and expects the best out of them. She believes if you agree to participate in band, then show up and do the work. She does not accept mediocrity. And by removing her, you're saying you're okay with mediocrity out of Wylie and Wylie Band. Both of my children have managed band, sports, and many other extracurriculars. They've managed to do it all. It's called prioritizing and scheduling, and they can do it. They do not have to choose. Lastly, we are told the reason for her removal was the numbers, but have you seen and have been shown that's not true? Then, when that was proven wrong, we are told parents complained. As a band parent, I believe those complaints are not involved with the parents. We're not involved with the band, so their concerns and complaints are irrelevant to this discussion. I feel that the administration that made that decision made it out of a personal agenda and not what was best interest of the students or even the best interest of Wylie. Thank you.
Anthony Roper.
It's me, Anthony Roper. I've got sorry, I'm a little deaf.
That's okay.
And I didn't hear what was said, but I'll add my own remarks. In 2014, we moved to this district to be at the school, largely in part of the music program. Our kids, mom and I, were both pretty hardcore band geeks, taken seriously. And we knew that Wylie had a martinet in charge who was pretty serious about pushing the kids to be a little better. And we watched things as years progressed, and more interest. This is a reason for a student who's less than motivated to look forward to going to school. And after 8 years of this, to have to the very foundation of the carefully chosen program that we tried to get involved in, to just be ripped out at a closed level. We don't really have any transparency, and this decision sounds like it was made a couple of months ago, and we're just hearing about it a little later as it trickles in. I, as a parent, do not want the leader of our music program to be replaced by someone who is gentler. We want somebody who pushes them. If we use the same metric, maybe we got a 2, maybe we didn't get a 1 in one of these competitions. How long has that been going on with other programs? Do we kill the career of a winning coach for a few bad seasons, or do we look at the type of character that coach is instilling in the children that we entrust to them? And I for one, I don't know if it's a mistake that can be rectified, but it is a mistake to cut the head off of this program. And you left a lot of pretty distraught children out here. And it seems like with the actions of the board and asking for unopposed elections and May 7th board election coming up, we really can't do anything about it. It's up to y'all. And I would urge the board and the superintendent to reconsider this and think about the quality of the arts education that the parents want for their children. We don't want them to be coddled with this. We want them to be set in line and to get better, and that makes them have a desire to get better. And I suspect that whatever replacement may be on board is not going to be up to that standard.
Thank you, Mr.
All right, thank you all.
Jody Tooley.
I find it interesting that I'm following him. Sounds like the band director's something we need to
to you tonight as a parent, but also as a Wylie Bulldog fan. As I stand before you, please understand I have a huge heart for kids, and I feel it is my responsibility as a member of this community to be here for them. Due to time restrictions, tonight I'm speaking specifically about athletics. But my heart is that every student be given the best opportunities possible in their area of gifting. As a spectator of various varsity games over the past few years, it has been discouraging to see less and less community support at games and watch the spirit of being a Wylie Bulldog diminish. The reason each one of you are on the school board is to provide a different perspective and individually contribute to the greater good. I am here tonight to ask each of you to hit the pause button on approving coaching contracts. I represent a large group of parents who want a better environment for all Wylie student athletes. Some of you have heard from them directly. Though there are many, I will spotlight a few questions to ask yourself. Number one, do we have resources in place that enables coaches to invest in our young athletes to build winning programs? To that question, I will say this. As a parent of an 8th grader, I, along with many parents, will regretfully inform you we're missing the mark. Number two, are we doing everything in our power to provide the necessary resources to be successful in our athletic programs? To that question, my response. There are 3 different athletic periods, 4th, 5th, and 8th. This makes it very difficult for students to flow from sport to sport and also achieve to their highest ability in the classroom. As a parent of an incoming freshman, parents were informed that it's very difficult to be both athletically, highly academic, and athletic, because it just doesn't work with scheduling. One athletics period allows all sports to count as an athletic credit. For example, a track athlete currently does not get athletics credit since we do not have a class period for track. I understand this requires the district to hire more coaches, but from my understanding, we are currently understaffed compared to other schools of our size or smaller. On that note, is it our absolute best to assign sub-varsity coaches to sports they are not familiar with? Again, as we hire an adequate amount of coaches, we can make sure they specialize to fit the needs of our programs. Question number 3, do we have guidelines being enforced to hold student athletes accountable, calling them to a higher standard? To that I will say, it should be a privilege to represent one's school as an athlete. Therefore, excellent effort in the classroom and respectful behavior are a no-brainer. If you cannot answer these questions with absolute certainty, I ask you again, please pause and take time to ask questions and hear from these young athletes. Please understand the last thing I want is to be standing in front of you right now. But what I want more is for our programs to be thriving. I have a lot more to say, but I'm out of time. Thank you.
Jack over there. Jack Wylie.
Evening. Myself, I would rather not be speaking to the board, to be totally honest, and to the staff that's here. Just so everyone knows, I'm a parent in the Wylie School District. I have currently 3 high school kids, 1 sophomore on the band. Okay? So I'm very familiar. I'm on the booster board and have been and will continue to be irregardless. Okay? My relationship with the band, 5 years ago, I started chaperoning on buses. Okay? You know, I think maybe a few more people ought to see that band in action when they're riding a yellow dog up to Kent, or even worse, to meets such as San Angelo and Big Spring on a yellow dog. San Angelo, we left one on Highway 67. Over at Odessa, we left one of your junk buses sitting, I'm going to be honest, that's my opinion, out in the parking lot at Odessa. You know who else was supported with yellow dogs? Nobody. Not a single 5A school. That makes me question the support of this school towards the band, to be honest. You've all read the reference letter from Sawyer. I hope you have. I don't intend to go over those statistics. They speak for themselves. But One thing I want to note in her case is this band had never gone to the Veterans Parade. Under the previous leadership, we hear accolades about all the time. Well, as a veteran, I fully support that, along with a lot of other things that Michelle has been doing over the last few years. As a chaperone, the first 2 years, I had mostly the senior students, and then Michelle started riding on bus 1, which is my bus, in my opinion. And let me tell you, I know what her relationship is with seniors, and in the last year it has been all freshmen. That's a little more interesting. But I can tell you without any doubt, her relationship with those kids are solid, just like you saw up front tonight. One of my concerns is the administrative movement in this dismissal, because it's a dismissal. I don't really care what you call it. You can call it a reassignment, you can call it whatever. It's equivalent to a fire, because you don't have a position to put her in. So that's not a reassignment. I guess my question is these are the standards that we got to have a band of 222 when we're clearly the largest band in Abilene, both by percentage of student body and in physical size, which, by the way, we can barely cram into the student section in high school on the football field. Where was that document? I've been in the military my whole life, 51 years right now. If I had somebody, a supervisor, remove somebody, God enjoy it, without documenting it and having it countersigned by that individual, that's a failure of 2 types. It's a failure of leadership, because you didn't clearly establish the standard. 2, it's a failure of management. Those documents need to be signed and they need to exist, and they don't. All you've got is excellent reports on this lesson. So the bottom line to me is I'm here to support this lesson. It may be way too late, mentally, physically, or otherwise, to reverse this decision, but it's a wrong decision. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to items for board action. I assume that everyone received the minutes from the last meeting. There's no question about those. We're going to approve those as they are. Consent agenda, Carol.
Just a reminder, in March, we did meet on the 7th, and so some of the bills presented came in after that meeting. You'll see on the beginning of page 6, the 14,000 gas bill. That's probably from the February date on that one, because I think that we presented another one later in August. First couple of pages have to do with a lot of the travel and the events that our students are participating in. Page 8 has the payroll for the month of March, $2.7 million. Keep looking through these and seeing all the meals and hotels and travel that's going on. On page 11, I've listed the Westico fuel cost on a weekly basis, just so you'll see those are weekly purchases of fuel there. Going to mention action testing on page 12, 6,325. Those are our bus driver physicals. We did 115 physicals at that one day. And then you'll see the second Atmos Energy listing of 13,000. That will be the March gas bill.
Sorry, on page 11, before that, the dump trailer, is it the dump trailer that the ag students made that they have up there?
Yes, sir. So that goes into activity fund that they can use.
That was their cost of materials.
Yes, sir.
You know, how they have to, every screw, bolt, washer is accounted for in that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You see on page 13, I listed Kidwood Construction, $198,000. That's the final payment for phase 2.
There's a bunch of things like
Mr. Bacon's happy with the funds list?
Yes.
All good? You
Yes,
believe
sir.
they should be paid?
So, we're getting there. So as long as it doesn't rain, we're praying for some rain, but you know how the roofs are, but no, we're good.
That food service is still a large bill, $117,000. That's just what our food costs are currently with our program of feeding all the students available. Usco Sports Lighting, that's $117,000. That's the second payment on that project for the lighting of the tennis, baseball, and softball fields.
What does that food program start?
The free lunches for everybody ends at the end of this school year. We will still have people that qualify through applications.
That comes through the Department of Agriculture on that, Department of Education. Supplemental bills are listed on page 15. That's where we listed our Taylor electric bill of $55,000. If there are other questions on the bills portion, I'll continue on.
Page 14, I'm sorry, the train company, is that on that?
Those coils,
Coils that move
there
around.
actually was another set in the kitchen, smaller set. So,
Past the last ones?
yeah, the other one was in a major area, and that one was 38,000, and this one was 10. It was the same event.
Same
We just
event,
didn't
different
catch
place.
it. And those are mechanical issues that we keep trying to take care of.
Page 16 has the cash balances at the end of March. In all of our accounts, $14,980,000. Regarding revenue on March 31st, just right now, we're having a break in our state funding from the foundation, and actually, it's a low point of our tax revenues at this time too, so we've reached our peak balances, and it's usually a descending number until we get to August and September. Expenses are listed on page 18. With the largest number, that 81, finishing up our construction projects that we have in place. And I've included in the consent agenda 2, financial reports as required by the state. So 2 different reports.
On the revenue report, looking at item number 5744, can you remind me what that is?
That was basically a donation for vocational programs. It's the largest part of that.
That was nice.
That was
Yeah.
very nice.
Glad to have that. And the food service activity, it's up.
We weren't sure quite how to budget for this with us going on the free lunch program, so we cut it back drastically from last year. But the 443 is what parents had put into their students' lunch accounts. And then back down to the 5921 and 5922 is the state revenue that's coming in for those same lunch counts.
What we make over, we don't have to even with the.
It stays in the lunch program.
It's good to see those increases. And good job, Mrs. Vaughn, again on the Medicaid shops.
I appreciate that.
Any other questions? Anything else?
I move we pay the bills.
A second.
All those in favor, say aye. Passes unanimously. So we're going to move Mr. Lovelace up so he can get out of here. So,
Don't worry about me.
Yeah, we're worried about you. So Mr. Lovelace is here to talk to us about LED lighting. If you remember last meeting, we kind of mentioned this. Mr. Light talked about this, so Mr. Light, take it away.
Yeah, so if you remember, in February, we brought the proposal from one vendor. At that point, I think the board felt like they needed to know more, and I'm thankful that y'all had me put the brakes on a little bit. So we went out and chased as many of these as we could. We asked for 4, and we got 3 proposals back. Johnny Rose, who has been a valuable source of information, helped evaluate these proposals. And at the end of the day, we decided to go with a Mr. Lovelace's program, NHSC, if that's the desire of the board. There is a basically, if you just strictly go on energy savings, it's a 2.8-year payback, which is better than anybody else. Now, they all use the same formulas on how to generate those savings costs, and I appreciate that. That seems to be the number one thing that we can get here, and that's the change of wattage is what generates that difference. And so if we went from a fixture that was a 32-watt fixture to one, I think the one y'all had was 10.5 in most of those settings, then you see that there's about a 22-watt per bulb savings on that with the same amount of light output. Some of the other things, and then you throw all these schools into it, you can see where that generates a lot of potential savings. The other thing that we didn't negate, but it would really be the same for everybody, would be equipment, and then heat, what they call heat reduction savings. And these fluorescent lights put out a lot more heat than LEDs, and there's a formula that is the standard in the industry that guides them on to tell them how much heat reduction savings is involved there. Also, I can tell you that fluorescent lights are constantly, they go out all the time. It's nothing new. And they've got a set life expectancy, where LEDs have a 15 to 20 year life a lot of times, and that's, so therefore you're saving on not just on the bulbs, but also on ballasts. These LED lights will not have ballasts that we have to contend with. And am I missing anything else on the equipment side?
The color rendition. What usually happens on fluorescent lights is they tend to start yellowing, where LED do not yellow like that. So you get that true color all the way through the full 15 years.
And so with that said, I think I summarized it pretty straight. And Johnny, I mean, you analyzed these and you felt pretty good about where we landed.
Yeah, I mean, they were all fairly close, and they used 2 numbers because we use checks and balances all the way through. so we know they're comparing apples to apples and not somebody throwing something out there. So when we saw it, his company came back with a better cost savings overall and truer numbers. So I feel really comfortable with his proposal.
So I don't know if anything in particular y'all might have a
Well,
question for Kenny.
Yeah, one of the things that raised my eyebrows last time with the other presentation was that they didn't do any of the emergency lights.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
And I just thought that was a little odd, am I right?
Yeah, I would say there's a liability if you don't. So and it's just not the right thing not to do. You need to pay attention to those battery backups. So
And you would replace all those?
Except the high school has a backup generator, and that's why they don't have a lot of battery lights in the high school. But the junior high, this campus, I mean, the intermediate and elementary all have a significant, hundreds and hundreds of batteries that are in fixtures, and some of them have been there for many, many years. And you know what the life of a battery on the car is. And so most of your batteries that are in these fixtures are way past that. And so a lot of them will not function right now. So what we do is we don't, there's a way that you can just use a ballast compatible bulb and stick it in one of those fixtures. Well, you haven't solved the problem of an old battery when you do that. So we actually bypass the ballast completely. We put a brand new battery system in there that runs LED lights. And so you're starting with a fresh whole set of those everywhere. And so I didn't have blueprints on every location, but I personally walked every single room in all these campuses. And there was a lot of steps. So for an old man, it's rough. It's what I do. So, but I know that we're going to have adequate lighting as the best we could. So when we don't have a blueprint that shows where all the batteries are, we use a formula. So out of every so many fixtures, we automatically put a battery in that area. So yeah, I would never want to find out that somebody couldn't find a way out of the building.
So what's the life of the battery?
Probably 10 years, somewhere between 7 and 10 years, I would think is pretty safe to say.
So what's the cost every time you have to replace?
Well, the battery kit for an LED fixture, like a 2x4 truck, or if we were putting one of these fixtures, this fixture has 6 bulbs in it, the kit costs about $50. But then you spend about $45 installing it because you've got to have a real electrician doing it because he's going to be cutting wires and reconnecting and hooking this up. It takes, like I'm a licensed electrician, but I'm a not very good one compared to a lot of my guys. So the people that when we send a team in, we've got guys that can change these bulbs out and bypass ballast, and then we've got guys that put the batteries in. It's a little bit higher level.
So that was my next question, is the maintenance of it. You send your own team in when one goes out, or when we have any trouble with them, we can count on you guys to come in.
Yeah, let's see what ours you want. Just kidding. I've got to have a little humor here. So anyway, absolutely, if that's what you want. Like, so this past week, I was at 400 Pine fixing lights for First Financial. That went out, some of them. So I'll say, if they would rather have us come do it, then we would, or a local electrician can do it, or once we've done all this bypassing of the ballast and it's all converted to LED, your maintenance person is just changing a bulb, like this fixture. So a lot of those things are simple once all that's done. But the way it's done is very important. And once it's done, the change is good and it's easy to take care of. A lot easier to take care of lights. Like when I was at high school, there was a gentleman over there changing ballast and lights, and way up there, when you first go past the circle and enter, he was way up there working, and that would be something he would not ever have to do because the ballasts are gone. And ballasts also draw energy. And there's some other things about the fluorescent lights, that not everybody knows, but they actually create the same UV wavelength that causes skin cancer. So there's radiation in these lights. And that's an absolute proven fact. And that same UV radiation is also fading that color purple and also fading this carpet and that flag. And so when you go to all LED, that stops. The only thing that'll fade it would be the sunlight coming in, but at least if you're not creating something that's fading carpet, paint, and everything else, and it being absorbed into your skin. I mean, we all get UV, but, you know, you don't want too much of it. And so why bathe in it, you know? And that's one of the big advantages to LED lighting. It makes a safer environment for everybody.
And I would say that up until recent, we've actually looked at these types of projects. We had a conversion to T8s around 2009 and that year, 9 and 10. Because at that time, LEDs were not, it wasn't cost effective to make the change. There was a great savings that was realized by moving to T8s, but not, I mean, you can see the savings that are taken into account the T8s versus the LEDs. So, you know, in 2.5 years or whatever I said there, 2.8 years, for that length, from then till 15 years out, or 20 years out, that savings is just compounds every year. So,
We're talking just the west side, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, because all the east side are LED.
So what is the cost on the bill, and what are the net monthly savings?
So $669 is the cost, and the savings per year is $236, and that's you know, if it were $240, that'd be $20,000 a month.
Are they offering the same type of
financing has gone up a little bit since we met in February? Just, I think the basis points have gone up. So they actually, one of the things I kind of like about the way they're going to do it is you don't pay that first year. You don't pay until the end of the year, right?
That's right. You don't make a single payment.
And so you see all the savings prior to having to make that payment. And then it's a 5-year note, 2.8.
2.88 is what they were this last week, but also, you know, basically you have a cash flow positive program from the day one. Because they'll pay us, we'll put it all in. You will start saving the money as soon as all the lights are in. And you'll save more in the first year than your payment at the end of that year. So you're going to have cash flow positive from day one.
So is it year that we install or like our fiscal school year?
It's a year from the time we sign the.
That's right. From the time that, if you go with the GovCap, and GovCapital is a humongous company that does cities and counties all over the state. They're talking probably over 1,000 cities and counties in the state when you add them all up. And they do private universities and some schools, but most private business can't get their funding. It's usually only tax-based entities, but they make exceptions with some schools. So that was great.
Johnny, thanks for your due diligence on this.
Yeah,
Question, the references, they, your projections being accurate to their?
Yes, we checked them.
So the first one we got, if you'll remember, was Gary Miller, and he said it was better than what they promised. So that was.
So you've done first financial year?
Yes, sir. For
All
the
over
last 3
Texas,
years, we've
not
been
just-
doing that banks all over the state. And they're a fantastic company to work with. I've never, you know, they got a great atmosphere in their businesses. I go all over their businesses and everybody's happy and friendly. It's a pretty amazing group. So I'm big with the story for them.
So that would be our recommendation. I think we would be seeing the benefits immediately. Now, I will say this, it won't start until, the installation won't start till the summer.
So it would align with our fiscal year, basically. Okay. I was not figuring out
So-
in my brain how that.
Yeah, so I do maybe have a question about that, because that rate won't be locked in until we sign it. So
Yes.
if we wait till, it may be from the date I sign it versus from the date it's installed.
Yeah, as soon as you get that deal with government capital done, then that's your rate set, right? And so, again, so then they fund.
Don't you think, Brad?
What?
Rates.
Yeah, rates are going up. So
they're gonna go up in the next
Absolutely.
quite a while.
Yeah.
So the sooner the better, but also this, once that happens, they fund us, we can make sure all the lights get in stock and ordered and everything's coming in. I mean, I have a lot of lights in stock, but not enough to do the school just tomorrow. I could get started, and we could get it in pretty good, but we don't want to get everything coming as soon as possible so we don't waste those summer months. The summer months are better because you don't have as many people around and there's less chance of anything going wrong that way, you know, so we can move pretty fast.
Speaking of stock and supply, are you having trouble getting lights?
You know, there's, a lot of people are, I think, we stock a lot of lights, so we have a 10-acre place in College Station, and we built, you know, we used to rent 7 places, now we have a big place that we designed this. So we stock a lot, and a lot of manufacturers that we work with, we do a lot of volume with them nationwide. And so we haven't really had trouble getting the lights that we need, but I'm hearing from some people that are having trouble. What's strange is the shipping issues. A lot of the, used to, I mean, somebody said, I placed an order on a Monday, I'd have it next Monday if it was coming out of California warehouse. Well, nowadays, it could be 2 weeks out of route. I mean, things have changed a lot in the shipping. And so everybody's gone up too. The prices have, in the last year, I've seen like 4 price increases. And that used not to happen like that. So this last year's been, well, you know, gas is more expensive. Everything is going up. So now's a good time. I mean, I think the sooner it saves you money. The sooner you move forward, it saves you more money.
You mentioned this warranty. What kind of warranty do you?
The lights that we offer have between a 5 and 10-year warranty depending on which lights. So a lot of them will have 10 years, some of them will be 5, and some will be 7. So that's the manufacturer warranty. You know, there's people who offer longer warranties, but basically you're just buying insurance to do that. And when you do that, the insurance companies know the actuary, so they know what their risk is.
Does the warranty include service and all that? I mean, is it?
No. No. If anything, after it's installed, you know, for months, if there's some problem, we're going to come help you with all that. But after that, the labor is not part of any of the manufacturer's warranties. If it's something you can buy, like a service contract, you know, like, but is it in your favor? I've never seen it where it was actually in the favor of the customer to pay for those extended warranties. Statistically, they've already got it figured out.
Johnny, you might make a comment about the warranty as well, because you were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, I laugh about extended warranties. What's going to happen, and I've been doing this almost 44 years, you're going to lose something within the first year. If there's something wrong with that fixture, that air conditioning unit or something, it's going to happen in that first year. It never fails. But once you get past that first year, you usually don't have issues until you start getting to the life expectancy of the equipment or something of that nature. So I would not buy extended warranty on anything. And then you're covered on your warranties for the fixture up to 7 years. If you're going to lose that fixture, you're going to lose it in the first year.
And the life expectancy, now not the warranty, but the life expectancy's out there at 15
to 20 years.
We've been installing LEDs for close to 15 years now. Our company, you know, we're formerly in electricity and natural gas was where our company was started. You know, that's why it was MHSC Energy. But the last 15 years, we've been installing LED lights. I have some. I put some in for my parents 9 years ago. Not a single light has failed. But they're not all made the same. And this is very important because you can buy LED lights everywhere. You can buy LED bulbs at, you know, Walmart or Home Depot or whatever, and then they'll have some that they'll say this is the builder's grade or whatever. You know, there's all this, but all lights are not made equal. I wish I would have brought 2 bulbs. I mean, just 2 screw-in bulbs like you screw on there. I've got one that weighs almost a pound and one that weighs about a half an ounce. And there's a big difference in how they're heat synced. And the only enemy to LED lights is really heat, too much heat. And so the people who spend the time and effort engineering a light that gets rid of the heat real easily, heat dissipation, those lights last a lot longer. They cost more money because there's more in them. And there's more, either aluminum or diffusing material that helps get that heat away. And they go with steel or just plastic to make a light. Neither one of those are very good at getting rid of the heat that gets trapped inside. So you can buy lights at all different prices, and there is a difference between them. So we don't mess with the cheap stuff. We don't even do it. I mean, so we've lost bids before because somebody said, well, they beat your bid by, well, okay, but you're not getting the same thing, and you're going to pay more later because of it. So we just stick with the brands that we trust and people that honor their warranties. That's a big deal in our industry too. So the people that we represent all honor their warranties. So that's really important.
How long will this conversion take? The actual work is.
That's a good question. And I don't want to get in trouble because I don't want to speak for all the electricians or anything, but I would say it's going to be. Oh man, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to say it's 3 to 4 months. It might go a little quicker than that, but that's what I'm thinking. Before every little I is dotted, I think that's what it's going to take. I'd like to tell you soon, but there's a lot of light. We're talking 20,000 plus, things the lights are going to have to be installed. So it's 7,800 and some odd fixtures, but a lot of these fixtures, there's 4 bulbs in them. So when you multiply that out, it's a lot of lights.
Which campus will we start with? We hadn't talked about that. I don't know if we wait until the high school got through with activities during the summer before we got.
It wouldn't matter to us, whatever works better for y'all, and sometimes we might be at 2 campuses at the same time. I have multiple teams or crews, and sometimes I could send, maybe have them working at 2 places, at the same time.
One of just the last thing that I thought was interesting, it doesn't really have a big impact on him, but we have architects that we have worked with really like in-ground lighting, around a lot of the buildings. It's pretty, it looks nice, but it is a maintenance nightmare. Kenny seconded that, but they have worked with different types of LEDs, and not to say there's a magic bullet anywhere, but they have even gone with swimming pool lights.
Sometimes we've had to go fully submersible. That's a 68 rating. It's very rare that people use those, but yeah, sometimes you have to. You really want them to stay in.
And so that was a point of mine. We have problems with those, and we wish we'd never gotten them. We do. So
Going back to the LED fixtures, but they never leak. Some of them, red light, you just gotta get moisture in.
Like these right out here.
You see it.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of banks use them too, and sometimes we have to go in there and we dig everything out and try to seal. It's just moisture condensates in there, and any little crack in that thing is full of water, and then it's going to short everything out. So,
What do you guys think? You need board action on this? We just need to give you the go ahead?
No, it would take more action with this. So we recommend that MHSC be awarded the LED lighting conservation proposal.
The reference with First Financial, I know who he works with, and trust him completely.
I think the only thing that bothers me is the timeline, but we can't fix that. I think anybody's probably gonna take that long to do it, right?
I think so. I mean, it's a lot of, like I said, it might go quicker than that, but that's what I really believe. I know, sometimes it's not the most popular thing, but to get everything done right and everything's perfect, I think it's going to take that much time. Might could be done in
I'm all about saving money. I'm not all about spending either. But if you're gonna do it, now's the time with rates. So I'll make the motion. We go with
MHSC.
MHSC with what was proposed to us. For the LED energy conservation.
I'll second. Motion and second is read. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rutherford.
Johnny, thank you again. I'll echo
Thank
what
you,
Ed
Johnny.
said. Johnny
Yes.
is pretty eager to help us out, so we
We're
appreciate
looking
it.
forward to being of service to you guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I tell Joey this all the time, that my kids go to school here. Marcus was praised for lifting 405, that's my son. And very, very rarely do you see one kid get to go to state in tennis, he was on the state team, and state in college.
Well, I know your kids are good kids. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Hagler, we're going to consider approval of instructional materials allotment and TEAP certification.
In accordance with TEC 31.04, school districts are required to certify annually to the State Board of Education and to the Commissioner that each subject in the required curriculum, students have access to instructional materials that cover all of the Texas essential knowledge and skills, which we refer to as TEAP for the rest of this report. As you see this certification form on page 22, it's much lengthier than the previous year, so instead of going in great detail, I'm going to summarize it for you. Page 22 and 23 are just district information. At the bottom of page 23, they've added some additional questions this year, new additional questions. Has your district ever used the Texas Resource Review, TRR, to make decisions about which instructional materials to use? And the answer to that is yes. We used it last year in pre-K for our reading language arts adoption. That's the first time it was available for us. And what they do is they do all the background legwork for you. The committee, it consists of administrators, teachers, curriculum specialists, and they put together a rubric that they rate and suggest to us. So like last year, there were probably 8 possible products that we could have adopted. They narrowed it down to 2 for us, and we made the decision from those 2 because that rubric answered all the questions that we had. On page 24, it asks, select the assessment platform your district leverages for unit, module, or diagnostic assessment. We use DMAC in our district, data management for assessment curriculum. We use that for many, many years, and we want to continue utilizing that tool. We disaggregate a lot of data of that for our students. The next question, the Children's Internet Protection Act, which was enacted by Congress in 2000. It asks, does your district or charter have a filter or a monitor in place to ensure that students accessing digital instructional materials do not have access to obscene or harmful content? The answer to that is yes. We use line-wise. Actually, every school district in our region uses that same product. On page 25, they start asking questions about phonics. House Bill 3, A6 Texas Legislature in 2019 requires all Texas school districts to provide a phonics curriculum that uses systematic direct instruction in kindergarten through 3rd grade to ensure all students obtain necessary early literacy skills. In our district, we use Saxon phonics. And the reason this is on this form is the phonics programs will undergo the Texas Resource Review that we just talked about that we used last year. They're going to use that next year, and we're very excited about that because we've used Saxon phonics for many, many years, and a lot of our teachers really like it. We brought on new teachers throughout the year. We put together a textbook committee 3 years ago when we did our ELA adoption K through 8. And the lower grades had asked that we continue with Saxon phonics at that time. Many of our teachers have gone through the Reading Academy since then. Some are happy with Saxon phonics. Others are wanting to try other resources. So we're going to use it for 1 more year. But this is going to be a great tool for us because next year we're going to lean on TEA, their direction on what what phonics program we use. And it be Saxon, but we're also going to have options for other ones. Over on page 26. 27 and 28. The rest of this form is going to talk about covering the TEAPs and how we do that. It asks specific questions on each of the core subjects. On page 27, does your district have materials to cover 100% of the English, K through 12 RLA TEKS? And the answer is yes, we do. And if you look down below that, you see that we use McGraw-Hill in grades K through 2, and we use SAVIS, which was formerly known as Pearson when we adopted it, for 3 through 12. Those are the adopted textbooks that we use. But please understand, for the last 3 years, we use Teach Resource as our curriculum, so we can utilize many resources to teach the standards. These are just the textbooks that we've adopted, and they do need to teach 100%. For ELA, I brought an example of things that we use. We use a lot of teacher-created materials on top of these textbooks. We use Amplify Reading Texas. We use BrainPop, Renaissance Learning, that's our AR program. We use YouTube. We have a lot of intervention resources. Read 180, it's the HMX product, Lexia Core 5, iReady, and Learning ISD. Those are other resources we use along with these 2 textbooks that I mentioned to make sure that we cover all the standards, grades K through 12. So now let's go to page 29, Mathematics Teach Certification. Does your district have materials to cover 100% of the grades K through 12? We meet all the TEKS. The answer once again is yes. As you see, we use HMH, Houghton, Mifflin, Harcourt. Texas Go Math is the textbook that we use K through 8. And then once we get up to the 8th graders that use algebra, and in high school, we use McGraw-Hill for algebra, geometry, and pre-calculus. Other resources that we use to go along with this, I'm just naming a few of them. We use the ALEX program, we use ST Math, which is endorsed by the state. We turn to page 30 and 31. Social Studies Teach Certification. Same question again. Does your district have materials to cover 100% of the grades K through 12 Social Studies TEKS? Yes. Grades K through 5, we use a product called Studies Weekly. We've been using it for about the last 7 years. And then if you turn over to page 31, once we get up to the upper grades, we go back to Houghton, Mifflin, Harcourt through 12th grade to cover 6 to 12 World Studies, Texas History, both sections of U.S. History, Geography, and World History. Another mention for other resources, TextQuest and Discovery Ed to supplement these textbooks that we use. And then the final core, of course, is going to be Science Teach Certification. Does your district have materials to cover 100% of the grades K through 12 for the Science Teams? Once again, yes. What we use at the lower grade levels is HMH. As you can see, we've used HMH quite a bit over the last adoptions. The product's called Science Fusion. We use that up to 8th grade. We have IPC in 8th grade, so we use another textbook of Texas Blend Code. And then at the high school level, we go back to HMH for biology, chemistry, and physics. So that's a summary of all of the adopted textbooks that we use. Are there any questions about what I just shared with you?
So do all the teachers, are they all happy with?
I wouldn't say that some of them don't want changes. What's happening in the state is, since I've been in this position for 3 years, we've done nothing but ELA adoptions. So I can answer yes, because we had committees and they decided.
Okay.
Now, you ought to stand in on one of those committees. That first one, that was about 25 people, and we got a majority. You're never going to get a complete, unanimous vote. However, different views on that. But we got a majority, and once we get that majority, we roll with that. The problem we've had in math and science is the adoptions are up this year. You noticed on the packet last month that we purchased $120,000 worth of Go Math and Science Fusion because the adoptions are up. Some of the TEKS have changed, but there's no new funds for the adoption. They call them gap years. So we have to roll with Go Math for 4 more years. We don't have to. We're not receiving funds for a new full adoption. We get funds for it in 4 years, and then science for 2 years. So we've been surveying the teachers. I think what we did was a very good decision. I went around and talked face-to-face with math and science teachers, and the ones that wanted to go with the resources that we have through the gap years, we purchased for them. Other teachers that are pulling other resources, they're using those. But once we get to math and science, 2 years and 4 years, committees will get together that obviously consist of teachers and administrators, and they make those decisions. And we go that way. So did that answer your question?
It did, yeah.
No, they're not all happy because you got a veteran teacher that's been using Go Math for 8 years and they love it, and you got a fresh teacher that came from another district and said, "No, we got a better resource that we were using." But remember, we use Teach Resources as a curriculum. So if we give them funds to purchase things that they can use to cover all those things.
And do you think they utilize that? I mean, do
Can
the
they
teachers
utilize-
like utilize the funds that they have to?
Well, I have talked to a couple of math and science teachers over the last month. We did the Go Math and Science teaching. They gave us a deadline before Christmas break, which I thought was horrible timing because really the adoption is not over until the end of the school year. But to get that price, you know, make sure we get that price, they said that'd become much time. So I've gone back and talked to the teachers that are not utilizing those, and we're gonna try to give them some more resources, maybe do some pilots on some other things, because we will be having a full-fledged adoption coming up. So yes, with the funds that we have, we purchase everything.
So I would say, Mr. Hager, you kind of said something there. You're much better looking than Mr. Hager. It's the glasses. Mr. Paul. But you said you visited a couple teachers. I know you went for several weeks and you
I
met.
think I talked to every math and science teacher.
He talked.
Especially K through 8.
Yes.
Those high school teachers, they don't like to visit. Leave me alone.
He has gone around and he's had these meetings, and I would say he has done a lot of legwork trying to get that consensus. Now, a lot of people who maybe from the outside looking in say, well, why is that a big importance? And I can tell you, when you have a bunch of kids moving from 3rd grade to 4th grade, and if they have 6 or 7 different teaching methods and using different materials, and they come to that next grade and mix those up again, and you're having to fill in all the different gaps, it is critically important that they are exposed to the same type opportunities across that whole grade level. And you know, we have not always been successful in getting them to buy into the team effort. But if they ever stop and look at what that does to their kid, the kids they have, if they're the only one doing something that's off the reservation, they go to that next level and they have a different learning experience than those other kids in that class. So is it always something that we're going to be able to achieve? No, that's the goal, is that we get them all teaching the same curriculum so that those kids have a similar experience across the
Not only
board.
in classroom now, I mean, also, we have different campus, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
So that's always.
And so
my
then you come
concern,
back
that-
together at the high school and you've
That's
got.
what's so great about Teach Resources. We're all on the
Yes.
same page, same curriculum.
Yeah.
We're using the same instructional focus type. We're using the same scope and sequence. But they can utilize different resources to teach that. But we want to come before the board with a textbook every time of adoption to let y'all know that we're choosing a textbook that by itself will cover 100% of the teams. But we want other resources that we can use as well. Unfortunately, as I've already said, the teams change before there's an adoption where we have to go buy these materials. That's all we have to do with science. The science teams changed years ago. We still have the same adoption from 7 years ago, so we have to get more materials. This does require board approval, so what we're
That's what
asking
y'all want to do.
that you certify that we have purchased materials through our instructional materials allotment to cover 100% of the teams. Who wants to try to do that?
I move to approve instructional material allotments and teach certification for 22-23. They cut it off, set the cover, they cover
The teams 100%.
the teams 100%.
Second. Motion and second, Ed Ray. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Haggard.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for the work, Mr. Hammond.
So, next we're considering a waiver for missed instructional days due to inclement weather.
Yes, sir. Each year, we build enough minutes into the calendar to have 2 bad weather days without having to make those up. If you go beyond those 2 days, then you have to apply for a waiver. so you don't have to make those days up. This year, we missed February 3rd and 4th, and then we missed February 23rd and 24th. So we are asking for a waiver, or we're asking that you consider approving a waiver for the 23rd and 24th of February. Again, if we didn't do that, then we'd have to either, for example, like we're off on Friday and then Monday, we'd have to look at some days to make up. And there are some scattered throughout the calendar, but that's what are good at the end. So.
Waiver has everything on it.
All of our waivers are pretty much what they used to call expedited waivers. I mean, if you applied for them and showed documentation, you were fine. We do have to provide documentation that there was bad weather on these days, that we ran it by our district advisory committee, which we did last week, and then that we brought it to y'all for approval.
And the district advisory committee did.
Yes, they did.
I'll make a motion that we waive for missed instructional days due to equipment weather.
Second. Motion is second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. I think, I lost my place, but I think we've got principals' reports. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Ms. McMillan's going to step up to the plate.
First of all, thank you for putting you guys involved. Appreciate it a lot of your support. So you can kind of see what we did the February 22nd of 22, the twins, tutus, and ties. That was a lot of fun. See, we like dress-up days. I think the teachers like them as much as the kids do a lot of times. This week, we are focusing on autism awareness. This is Autism Awareness Month, and so we're going to dress up again. And so we worked with some of our autism community, people that in our school, the parents that have kids in our school that are on the spectrum, to work on these days and these great attributes that these kids have. We're really looking forward to the high school students coming. They're coming from the Principles of Education class that they do at the high school, so they're going to come observe our classes next week. And so we're really looking forward to that. Another thing might be interesting to you, we have a typing club, and what we started realizing is in 3rd grade that they were going to have to type part of the STAR test that 3rd graders were to compose something on there. And it did away with the writing test, but they added some of the questions that need to be. So these kids are going to have to type a paper, and we realized that they don't know how to type. I mean, they know how to peck on an iPad or something. But anyway, they don't know how to type. And so, but our kids sometimes, if they come really young, sometimes they're not hand dominant. Like if you give them a pencil, they don't have that skill because they're used to doing same thing, an iPad or a cell phone, and so they don't have those skills. But so once a week, our 1st through 3rd grade go to a program and we practice, and the teachers call it typing club. And it's to help them learn to do some keyboarding, so we prepare them for life skills and good start. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Ms. McMillan, in her report, she had enrollment of 750. Not too long ago, she had an enrollment of 930-ish, and Mr. Bacon's taking those 180 kiddos over there. It's a little less than 180.
Let me say thank you.
Bring them on. Bring them on.
The rattlesnake wrangler.
Well, I'm actually here on behalf of Mr. Boone as well. He couldn't be with us tonight, so if you have any questions, he said we could actually FaceTime him and ask him those questions. So, just kidding there. So with that, some of you may know what Boone and Crockett point system is. So this is going to be the Boone and Bacon version. Just a few points. Mr. Lightman wants to go too long. So, but if you have any questions on Mr. Boone's, please feel free. I'll try to do my best to answer those. But what's going on at Wylie East Intermediate? Again, still trying to build some culture as far as we greater than I. So again, it's really kind of taken off. But you remember we opened the doors in January, so we were kind of just learning to kind of roll on our back a little bit. We've kind of made it to a crawl for spring break, and now we're actually hopefully taking a couple of our first steps. So killed our first rattlesnake there on site. So we had Mrs. Z's musical, our first assembly, which was really good, really nice to kind of break in that. Like I said, just want to take some time to think. Kind of going back to Mr. Autry's question on the punch list. A lot of that stuff, spring break, Charlie has been really, really good, and he knew that we were going to be off. He planned, they were moving dirt, fixing dumpsters, grading, doing a bunch of stuff inside that week. So we got a lot of stuff done. Now, obviously, warranty items or maybe some stuff like Joan was talking about the first year. Again, we called them up, and they're coming to replace things that are, just didn't work out. So again, it's been very, very pleased with that. But today we actually had PTO, so I want to thank Ms. Baldwin and the PTO for providing Kona ice to all our teachers during lunch. So that was kind of a good treat. Kind of got them over the hump on a Monday afternoon. So again, another one to thank Taylor Electric. Our frontage road sign is now, it's been up for a little while, but now it's operational. So again, I think Mr. McCurley will be able to see that out of his office, maybe kind of seeing what messages we're going to try to scroll upon there. Mr. McVeigh and his team did a really, really good job. We did have a few little kinks to work out, but they worked really, really, really hard, so we wanted to thank them as well. Another sign, wanted to thank City of Abilene, City Council, talked to Stan Lambert. I know Mr. Johnson's here, but we were actually, Mr. Wylie sent a picture to me as well. We did get a school sign, so we appreciate all the effort there of kind of keeping our kiddos safe on that 1750. So definitely taking some steps in the right direction, but we couldn't have done it without the City of Abilene, City Council, and those guys having a voice for us. But kind of at the bottom there, you see the Be Amazing bulletin board. Man, my librarian, Miss Jonas, our secretary, and Miss March kind of put that together. Really, really creative. So proud of that. We had opening day. Didn't know if there was going to be opening day for Major League Baseball, so we tried to celebrate that a little bit with the practice, knocking the start out of the park. So our students have really we're in that practice mode. Really kind of gave them a lot of John Wooden quotes, this week, the last couple of weeks, as far as practicing and gearing up for the Star. So having a lot of fun over at Wylie East Intermediate. Come by and see us anytime. Do you have any questions? Thank you, buddy.
So, for early childhood, you'll see our enrollment there at the top. We have 368 students, and we're set to receive 2 more students here pretty quick in early childhood, so that number should go up to 23. All right, this week it's all about egg hunting. We're egg hunting, but we're also having our music programs for kindergarten. And so it's an annual theme type program, and on Wednesday, and I just know the parents are going to love it. So then next week, we're going to start our end of the year required testing. That's MClass for kindergarten and the CLI Engage for pre-K. We do that 3 times a year. And the kindergarten, always at the end of the year, well, as of last year, we have required dyslexia screening built into that at the end of the year. So with those students who are identified, then they'll be tested and be ready if needed if they show tendencies for the program next year at Wylie West Elementary. Okay, so towards the rest of April, our pre-K, they're going to take a field trip to Hardin Simmons. They're going to go to the Western Heritage activities there. And then our kindergarten, they're going to go to the State Park of Texas, of Abilene. And when they are there this year, they usually always, Ranger Rick, he is usually there. Actually, it's Ranger Ryan, not Rick. He always has pelts and different things, skeletons, and they get to guess which animals and everything. But this year, they're going to have the Buffalo Soldiers reenactors there, along with the pelts and the skeletons. So it'll be very interesting, I think, to the kids. They always enjoy it. We are going to have our Title I annual spring meeting for parents on April 25th, and we have it twice. We have it at noon and then at 6, so everyone can make it. And then in May, our pre-K will go on a field trip to the zoo. Our kindergarten will take a trip over to West Elementary and look around there. And then we will also have a young audiences performance here in May, and that's basically just a traveling theatrical type assembly, and it'll be Mother Goose. So we're going to have a lot of fun while learning for the rest of the school year. We have 16 students in kindergarten that start being served as far as the GT program, and Mrs. Cheek comes over once a month and does some activities with them. Any questions? Okay.
I did see the egg hunt. It looked like a fire bed out here this afternoon. They were everywhere.
They were fun.
Okay, hello everyone.
Hello.
We have a total of 443 students right now. We just finished our book fair, and we did that in conjunction with our music program. And those little kiddos were absolutely adorable. They did all kinds of movements and played instruments. It was really a wonderful music program. And we did very well as far as the book fair goes. It was an excellent idea to have those two together. So the library did make some money. So that was great. We had just recently, our kiddos, they were drawing posters for the Middle Clear Fork Soil and Water Conservation poster contest. And we had first grade had 3 winners, and second grade had 1 winner. We had a first, second, and third in first grade, and a first grade winner in second. And Colton Simmons, for the first grade first place winner, was also the sweepstakes winner. So that was great. They do that every year, and the kids really look forward to competing. We went to the zoo. That was for our first grade just recently. And we also are going to be doing the M class, and again, that just helps us to see where our kids are at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the year. We like to see how they're progressing as far as their reading goes, and it's a great way to check that. And we're going to the Nickel for our second grade. They'll be going in May. Young Audiences is also coming to our school. They're doing a meteorology little theme. Anyway, it's a great little program for the kids, first and second grade. They learn and they're entertained. And then we also have our field trips coming up in May. And then most importantly, we have our Trivia Tuesday again tomorrow, where everyone gets to participate in that. So that's all I have.
Tell them what Trivia Tuesday is.
Well, it's so much fun. Everyone in the whole school participates. Every hour we ask a question, some random fact. And all the kids are all excited. They're helping the teachers. They all have their iPads. They call in whoever is the 5th email. We had to go to email. Whoever has the 5th email is the winner. So it's a lot of fun.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Thank you, Ms.
Thanks.
Thank all of you very much. Appreciate all that y'all do. Don't thank you enough. Good work. Construction update, Mr. Wright.
Yes, sir. As y'all know, we've been watching anxiously as the sporting lights have been at a snail's pace, it seems like. There were issues. They've been putting in, Musco's been putting in sporting lights for a long time, not just in Abilene, of course, but around the state. They ran into some permit issues that they had never seen before, and so it took a while to work through those. So they have cleared those hurdles. Actually, there's still some permits that, they do a ditch and they lay a line in it, that's got to be inspected. So it's a lot of things. Right now, they are locating underground lines to make sure when they're ready to go, they go. And so I would say, I've been telling you all along, the projected timeline, and we're nowhere close to where we started with a projected timeline. But I talked to the gentleman today, and he's much more cautious about making projections. And he's hoping that we have a couple of ball games with the lights. So that's what he said. With that also said, you know, we've talked for a long time about going and investigating in a long-range facility plan. And we had a group that works with Texas Association of School Boards. As I was going through that, I had one of those flashes of lightning hit me, and I said, Desiree, didn't we have a guy that came out back in 2014 that already, one of the first things they do is they do a facility study, and they take an inventory of everything you've got, and you know, that's already been done for us on the west side. In 2014, all we had were west side campuses. So if we use the same group that we had, it was going to be like a third of the cost, and that cost was anywhere from $40,000 to about $70,000. This one is going to be, you know, somewhere around the $16,000 range. And so we have worked with this gentleman before. His name is Robert Gadbois. I think that's how you say it. And he works with owners building resources. So they've been doing this for a long time. And I talked to him not only about, you know, getting a good idea of what we have in place, but then also doing surveys with our families in the schools and also the community. And that's part of what he did last time, but obviously since 2014 a lot of things have changed. And then he would facilitate some meetings, informational meetings, and feedback, kind of like town hall meetings where we're gathering input. So I think that would be good for us as we move forward. You know, there's a lot of things happening in our district as we've continued to grow. You know, in 2014, we didn't even have 4,000 kids. Now we've got 5,100 kids. So a lot of things have changed. And so just share that with y'all. And I think when we talked prior, y'all were interested in me pursuing that. And so I will do that. And at least get him to where at some point he'll be able to come up and visit us. So that's all I have on construction.
I think that's all we have for our regular session, so thank you all for being here.
Mr. Vaughn, you may want to hang back if that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.